England and Wales incarcerates more prisoners than any other country in Western Europe, and it costs around £40,000 per prisoner per year. The Howard League for Penal Reform has set up the Commission for English Prisons today. They've launched a report into how we can solve the mounting problem in our prison system.
What do we do with people who commit crimes? How can we make our society a safer place? How do we get fewer victims of crime? What does the country do? What do individuals do? What do neighbourhoods do? That's what the Howard League for Penal Reform is here to try and deal with.
Can I say good morning everybody and welcome here today for the launch of the Commission on English Prisons Today final report, Do Better, Do Less.
Features, I guess, of the report is that money should be reinvested in local communities. Why is this?
Well, crime is committed locally. The impact of those crimes are felt locally, and with very few exceptions, the people who have committed those crimes are going to return to those local communities when their prison sentence has ended, and in all likelihood, they're going to commit crimes again. So it seemed sensible that instead of investing money simply in prisons for minor offenders who have mental health problems, who are drug addicts, who are homeless, that what we could do is change the spend. So instead of spending huge amounts of money on maintaining our penal system, we could reinvest that money in the local communities where those crimes are being committed in the first place, by investing in things like drug treatment, mental health provision, hostel accommodation.
Yeah, I mean, anything basically to stop the stem the flow of people going into prisons. If the community could deal with it better, I mean, there's a lot of people in there could have been dealt with by maybe community sentences or fines. But unfortunately, the thing now is just to throw them in prison and forget all about it. No one actually really wants to take responsibility.
I've spent my whole life working with crime, first of all with offenders, and then latterly with victims and with witnesses in the criminal courts. And throughout my career, I've been dogged by not having enough money to do the really constructive things that you want to do. Now, to do everything that everybody wants to do, and I'll add crime prevention to that as well, you would need to double your budget. Across the board, and yet billions and billions of pounds are being put into prisons with no obvious return. In fact, a lot of evidence suggests that they actually cause harm and damage. And you think, what a wicked, wicked waste of resources, when there are so many really good things you could be doing with that money.
Well, in a sense, the recession is an opportunity because it enables us to look at what's been happening and to see whether or not we could do things better. And we certainly can. We can both save money and actually have more effective outcomes if we adopted the approach laid down in this report. What was very encouraging today was to see politicians from both parties engaging in that debate and saying that they are interested in taking this debate forward.
I think it would have been a good thing if they had the report actually start setting some targets for what kind of prison population we should be aspiring to and over what time scale, because I think that's going to be a question that lots of people will ask, and also setting the questions it's raising in a broader political and economic context. The most significant contribution to levels of the prison population are income inequality, the gap between rich and poor, and that's something which the report doesn't really focus on at all.
I think the report is quite welcomed in respect of it's quite radical and revolutionary. Whether it can actually come into fruition is another question. Well, I don't think you can ever get the politics out of the penal system for a start, so if you can't sort of get the foundations or the building block in place, then how can you bring in those sorts of radical changes? The other thing is some of the systems or frameworks that they're sort of talking about is quite similar, I feel, to the 7 pathways that we've got at the moment in reducing reoffending. I can understand why they sort of make comment about it's quite bureaucratic and all the rest of it. However, I can't see how their system's going to be much different.
We are trying to affect a change in overall direction of both thinking and policy about prisons. Our analysis is that over the last 15 years, during times of economic plenty, we have our society has spent in a rather carefree and cavalier fashion on prisons, partly because of the perception among politicians of what the mood of the people is, and because the money has been available to do so. We think that's been a mistake. We think this is now a good time for us to take stock, and the Commission's argument is that we need to have a different direction of travel.